Hello and welcome to my episode 3 of my Out of the Park Baseball 18 playthrough of the Philadelphia Phillies. We're in the offseason for the 2027 season. We just started free agency. The free agents have filed, the international free agents have entered the market. I've got about $24 million to play around with in free agency. I don't expect I'm going to be able to get too much out of that, but after the arbitration, which is what we went through in the last episode, I'm short a couple players in my starting lineup, mainly first base and center field. So I'm going to see if I can't maybe pick up a mid-tier starter, if not for both positions, at least one, and maybe try to bolster my relievers. I think I may have to go with the starting staff that I have, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But I wanted to start out in this episode. I know the first episode I said that I wasn't going to go through every little detail, every little year-to-year thing that you can do in this game, which is there's so much, and that's what adds to the depth and the fun of it. But there were a few players when I looked at the Hall of Fame voting for this year. There were a few players who are coming on the ballot for the first time, and I just wanted to kind of look through that, show you who I'm going to pick, and see if there's any surprises in terms of careers, how they played out in my gameplay in my sim. So looking at the voting, first year already there's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I have the manual All-Star or manual Hall of Fame voting turned on for myself, but I also use the AI votes, and I really think that Cabrera is going to be a no-brainer. He played through pretty much the 2021 season in my sim. And he was signed, I think, a little bit longer. I think his contract probably ran 2 or 3 more years. But he started to dwindle after that 2017-18 was a pretty decent year for him. Started showing some signs of slipping in the 2019 season. But still, overall, I mean, he was productive. And his numbers, those last few years he had in my playthrough only added to the Hall of Fame numbers he already had. Finished 3,310 hits, 581 home runs, 1,971 RBIs, 312 career batting average, 88.3 wins above replacement. And then you look at the built-in metrics that Out of the Park Baseball has. He's over in all of those, and well over in some. He's double in the Hall of Fame monitor, 100 points higher in gray ink. His Jaws is really high. So no-brainer, I'm voting for him. Another guy that I'm voting for, and I'm probably going to be it's going to show my bias here, but Bobby Abreu, I think, was a very productive hitter, especially for the Phillies. I think he was, from this period, 98 through 2005, he was the Phillies' best player, and he was one of the best players in the league. Why he didn't have more awards, I'm not, I really don't know, because I think he was just a great all-around player. He was kind of like, I'm not going to say the guy's name because we're about to look at him, but he reminds me of a certain, in terms of the numbers he put up, he reminds me of what a certain first baseman in Cincinnati, has been putting up over the last few years. Gets a lot of walks, pretty high batting average, productive. Is he hitting 50 home runs, 40 home runs? No, but he's got some power. He's got, a lot of doubles. I think overall he had a solid career, and I've been voting for him ever since. I think he came up in the second or third year of my playthrough, and I've been voting for him every year. Now, whether he's going to make it, I don't know. He's got a pretty tough road to make it from that. Robinson Cano is another one who I think overall put up numbers similar to Abreu's, maybe in some respects better in terms of hits and overall career batting average, but he didn't have the wins above replacement, for instance, that career that Abreu had. I don't think he scored as many runs as Abreu had, and let me look back at Abreu. Abreu had more career RBIs, definitely more walks and stolen bases, and Cano is on the verge of being a Hall of Famer based on this is his second season. He got 70% of the vote from the AI last year, so I think he's almost a cinch. And I don't think he's put up the numbers that Abreu has. So I'm going to vote for Cano, and it just kind of strengthens the way I feel about Abreu. I think Abreu deserves to be in there. Carrasco is another one who's a first ballot. He had a great year for me in 2019, or not for me, but in the sim. He won the Cy Young that year. Overall, was very solid, but he never really duplicated that season. A few years later, he was done, gone from the league. I don't see him getting any votes or any serious consideration for the Hall of Fame. Zach Greinke was an interesting one because I thought that he might. Well, the real life Greinke, I think, is probably going to get 200 plus wins. I think he's got a chance to get to 3,000 strikeouts. But in my playthrough, Greinke had a good 2018, and after that, I don't know if it may have been injuries or what, but he was just nowhere near the pitcher that he had been throughout his career. And he's going to be short, I think, of the numbers he needs to make my Hall of Fame anyway. Felix Hernandez, another one who kind of dwindled early. He was still only 34, 35 years old when he played his last season, and 34 when he was really the last year that he was a starting pitcher. I thought he had a good chance of getting, I don't know, close to 250 even in wins, or 220, somewhere along in there, and 3,000 strikeouts. Had he done that, and I think had he picked up a few more awards, I would be willing to go with him. But right now, I think you can make a better case for him over Greinke, but I don't think I'm going to vote for him right now. Matt Halliday, good numbers overall, but I hate to slam that Colorado effect, but his best years were in Colorado. Even though he had some great years in St. Louis, good years anyway, I don't think he put up the numbers overall to make the Hall of Fame. Going down the list, let's see if there's any other first-timers or anybody that strikes. No, the only other one that I'm really having a tough time deciding what to do with is Joey Votto. I think right now the real Joey Votto is probably one of the best all-around offensive players in the game. I think the numbers that he's put up right now in his career, if he can have another 3, 4, 5 years even putting up those kind of numbers, I think he's got a real good chance at the Hall of Fame. But in this playthrough, he was injured in the 2017 playthrough here for me, and he had a good 2018, and then after that he was pretty much done. He didn't really, he was still relatively productive, but his average was way down. His walks was still up there, but he was striking out a lot more. Wins above replacement was negative his last year in the league. I don't think he's got the numbers right now overall to make it. And if you look at the Hall of Fame metrics that are built into the game, his jaws is above average for the Hall of Fame first baseman, but the rest of his numbers are quite a bit below, in some cases, what the standards should be. I think I'm going to skip voting for him this year and see what the AI does and see if he gets some votes, and maybe next year I might come around and I might vote for him then, but I'm going to leave him off this year. The only other one that again, this is me showing my bias, but I really feel like Jimmy Rollins at least deserves some a vote or two, and I'm going to be the one probably giving him the vote. I don't know if he's going to be able to squeak it through. This is his 7th year on the ballot. He picked up 20.5% last year, but I think he meant so much to the Phillies, and he was definitely big reason why they won that World Series. I think what was it, 2009, and made it to the World Series for those 3 seasons that they did. So I really 2 or 3 seasons. I can't remember now. Sorry. I think he was a good overall player, good speed, good defense. I'm going to give him a nod there. Miguel Tejada, he had really some pretty good overall numbers. I would think pretty close to at least Cano. A little bit more power, didn't have the high average, but I don't think he's going to get the numbers to make it to the Hall in this playthrough. Max Scherzer dwindled after the 2016 season. You can see he was still a good player, but he started getting injured, had some injury problems, and then by 2019 he was just not the same pitcher. He didn't even get to 3,000 strikeouts, which where he's trending right now in real life, I think he might have a good chance of doing that. But I can't see voting for him in this playthrough. And the last one I was going to look at is Justin Verlander, who has the 2011 season, Cy Young, MVP. He was Rookie of the Year in 2006. He didn't have the comeback that the real life Justin Verlander is having. In my playthrough, he didn't have that comeback. And had he done that, I think you would be looking at maybe a pretty solid chance for Verlander to make it. But in my playthrough, he just didn't hit the numbers that he needed career wise to make it. So I'm going to leave him off. Andy Pettitte, I just can't go Andy Pettitte. I think I voted for him once or twice throughout this playthrough, but I think I'm going to leave him off this year. And honestly, that may do it. I know I said that I like to go put up a full ballot, but I don't know if I can find the guys here. I mean, maybe Fernandez. I think I'll put him up there. But that's going to do it. I don't see anybody else. David Price, he played through 2021, but a couple good seasons in my sim win-wise, but he didn't really have another year that was as dominant as some of these seasons he had starting out with Tampa Bay, or even what he did a few years with Boston. So I'm going to go ahead and submit the ballot, but maybe we'll look at this again next year and see how some of those guys, see if Jimmy Rollins, maybe I can sway a few of the Hall of Fame voters there in the computer world, and they'll give him a chance. But now I'm going to look at some of the free agents that are coming out. And first, the international free agents. Instead of needed pitching, this guy, I tend to stay away from guys who are fragile if they're coming from that international free agent market. And I've seen so many times, I don't really sign them myself, but I have seen so many times in this game where guys get signed from that international free agent that were listed with the high injury proneness, and that's exactly what happens usually within the first year they're in the league. This guy could be interesting. Juan Vallejo, good personality ratings. My scout, mid-rotation, possibly better. I like, if I can get a starter who's mid-rotation and has pretty good stuff for $10 million, he's not that old. He might be worth looking into. Third baseman, I'm not seeing any center fielders or first basemen, so not going to really pursue too many of those guys, I don't think. But this is what's listed as the top free agents that are coming in, and I noticed that sometimes this is kind of hit or miss. I don't know how the AI picks who to showcase here, but a few starting pitchers that might you know, be worth a look. Daniel Gossett, who has just, I think last year may have been his first year in the majors with Oakland. He's turned into a pretty good pitcher. I don't think he's a $21 million pitcher, but you see from the last 3 years what he's done in Arizona, I think is pretty decent. I would say mid-rotation, if nothing else, but not $21 million. Seth Beer, who has been a really good player, he's not won an MVP award, but I bet he's come close. He's put up some pretty good numbers throughout his career. Already at 274 home runs, and he's just 30. But he has had some injury problems, so I'm not sure if he'll get the contract demand that he's looking for. Bryce Harper is still in the league. Bryce Harper is still rated high in the league, and his injury proneness, as you can imagine, is wrecked. He gets injured pretty much every year now, and has very few years, really, if you look at there, has he not been injured. I think 2024 and maybe 2018 were the only 2 years of this playthrough that I've done where he wasn't injured a large chunk, if not the majority of the year. He hasn't hit above 250 except 1 year since 2024, and when he was 31. No, he was 32. Overall power numbers are good, a lot of runs, but a lot of walks, and high wins above replacement. This guy's going to be an interesting, a lot of discussion around these numbers when he comes to the Hall of Fame, but I don't know if he'll sign with a team, but it's going to be a really big gamble whoever signs him. And Trevor Rogers has had a pretty good career. That year with Atlanta there in 2025 was amazing, but I just don't see me affording him. I think he's going to be way out of my price range, but I still don't see any center fielders or first baseman there in that list. Addison Russell, just 33. He might not be a bad pickup. He's now rated a little bit better at second than he is at short. 3-star player, my scout and OSA. But man, $23 million. That's a lot. He's coming off a good year, though. It's kind of a comeback year for him. And overall, for his career, you can see he's put up some pretty good numbers. But I don't, and he's doesn't seem to be injury prone either. So he'll be a good pickup for somebody, but not for me. Let me take a look at who's going to be available right now. Yadier Alvarez. Yeah, he's put up some good numbers too. I'm not sure why he didn't show up in that list of the top 10 players. But I'm going to look at center field. Chris Bryant, I mentioned him, I think, in one of the earlier videos. He's still going strong. I don't know why he's listed at center field, but he would be a good pickup at first base. But, you know, I already gambled. I picked up Anthony Rizzo a few seasons ago, and he wound up being injured for me and didn't really put together the kind of career that I hoped he would have. I don't want to take this gamble on Bryant. Plus, his strikeout numbers are incredibly terrible. 240 last year. 2,400 for his career. Wow. But he is one home run away from 500, and he's had a great career, wins above replacement. It's going to be interesting to see how his final numbers play out, but I think he's got a really good chance making the Hall of Fame in my playthrough. 2 MVPs, although those came before I started simming, I think. No, I did sim the 2017 season. You could see that was one of his best, if not his best years. 52 home runs, 132 RBIs. He might be worth somebody picking up. But man, I'm not seeing anything. I'm looking for Larry Ernesto. Oh, he's wrecked. What I'm really looking for is about a 3-4 star center fielder, somebody who's listed as a center fielder primarily, and as you can see, only Ernesto out of this list is showing as a primary center fielder, and David Dahl I think is going to be too much of a gamble injury wise, although he did play 133 games last year. He still has very good defensive ratings. See what OSA, no, they're 2-star too. I really tend to stay away from rec players, and I think I'm going to keep to that. He might be an okay gamble, but I think I'm just going to have to let that one go. And I mentioned too, for Phillies fans, if you might be watching, J.P. Crawford, this is the kind of career that he's had in the majors. Played a few good years for me and never really took off with another team, but he's still out there. He's 32. He's a free agent. He's wanting $1.6 million. He might get it from somebody. So I'm going to have to play around here, I'm pretty sure. If not, I may have to see if I can find someone who's able to play center field. This is what I see too much right now in this playthrough, is strong corner outfielders, but center field is really hard to find in this playthrough. So that's something I'm going to have to look at and focus on, is finding a starting center fielder. And then first baseman, let's see what we got here. A few to choose from. Nick Prado is going to be way out of my price range, but he's really the kind of player that I really like. High average, high contact, good gap powered, high, discipline, good defender. But I don't really see paying that much for him either. Brandon Belt is still in this. He's 39 years old, but his defense has been phenomenal. Look at all the Gold Gloves he's won. I think he's won it every year. Well, he's won. Yeah, I think he's won it every year, except last year was the first year he hadn't won it since 2019. And overall, offensively, 246 home runs, almost 2,000 hits, but poor batting average and a lot of strikeouts. So these are the things I'm going to have to focus on, and rather than go through all the deliberations and all the screen and mouse clicking, I'm probably going to take a look at some of this stuff offline, and then I'd like to sim through the winter meetings and maybe get to the Rule 5 draft. I think that would be a good place for us to be in episode 4. But thank you for watching. I hope I didn't ramble too much during this one, but I saw some of the Hall of Fame, some of the first ballot guys there, and I wanted to take a look at them. And I'm hoping that I can swing something through free agency, and if I haven't, then we might see in episode 4 during this winter meetings period, you might see me try to make some trades to pick up a center fielder and first baseman. But look for that episode to be coming soon, and thank you for watching. I hope you got some value. If you want to make some comments in the space below, if you have a player that you'd like to see how they were doing, how they turned out in my playthrough, just drop their name down and I'll let you know in a future episode. Have any questions about my settings, anything like that, just drop a line in that comment section and I'll let you know. But thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you next time.